Chaos all over the world. Is this the direction we're heading? Sometimes it does appear as if it might be the case. Wars, talk of more wars spreading, financial problems, depression, anger, sadness, anxiety, fear. All of these emotions are a good precursor to what is really happening. For those people that have had dark night of the souls, many of us recognize what the world is going through. Because after all, the dark night of the soul, for me anyways, it was the ego that had basically run the show for too long. And then I needed a wake-up call. Now I'm proposing that this is exactly what's going on right now in this life for most of us. That the ego has run the show as far as society goes for a very, very long time. And just like me, before I had my dark night of the soul, I had hints here and there that I was going in the wrong direction, and I believe it was Oprah that said at first it sounds, the warnings sound like a whisper. It's like, psst, hey, going in the wrong direction. And then we avoid, or I should say ignore that. And then eventually it becomes louder. It's like, hey, no longer a whisper here, you're going the wrong direction. And most of us, we ignore it. And then as it progresses, it gets to the point where you're, in a sense, shoved, pushed, and sometimes you get thrown across the room and land on your knees. And when you're thrown down, where you're at your lowest point, you finally have no choice but to listen. And that's what I'm proposing is happening right now. All of us have had our ego run the show. We've become greedy. We've really missed the point of life. It's all about competition, individuality, getting more. I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, because greed at some point is one of the main culprits, I would say, but not the only one. Because at the end, the ego is represented in different ways. Sometimes it is an inflation, where like usually you believe you're better. That's usually where greed and control and, well, us justifying mistreating other people, that's where that comes in. But also, the ego can be expressed in a way that poor little old me. Neither of these expressions of the ego is, in a sense, better or worse than the other. It is a response to an internal perception of ourselves where we're not good enough. And while like the inflation one compensates by inflating, the other side of it, the poor little old me, deflates. It becomes, a victim. Unable to, in a sense, take control of their lives or responsibility. Maybe control is not the right word, but responsibility. Your ability to respond. So, just like me, I'm seeing people going through the same things that I did when I had my dark night of the soul. And until that we finally start to listen, this experience will progress. The little nubs and shoves and pokes and whispers will become very much louder, up until the point where we'll have no choice but to listen. Now, luckily, there's some of us that are not as stubborn as others, and some of us will eventually wake up before they reach rock bottom. And these people are very, very valuable because they'll help people that will have reached rock bottom. So thank you for those that are not as stubborn as me, for your help that you're going to provide in the near future for everybody. So one of the ways where, like I said, the ego is represented sometimes in inflation or deflation. The ego is often very, very afraid. It's also very sad, very anxious, right? And when you have sadness, anxiety, fear, and anger, once you have all these things, somebody can do some very bad things. You know, maybe even kill. You might kill because you're so afraid. You might kill because you're so angry. Right? And that is where we all can reach rock bottom. And luckily, I didn't go that far myself. But it's a possibility, right? And this is what we're talking about when it comes to world wars, right? At the end, we're at war with ourselves. We are very much in conflict inside of us. But do not fret. Do not get anxious because of what is currently happening. That will only add to how disturbed the whole situation is. You get as much as in peace as you can. Then hopefully you'll realize one day this saying that no matter how chaotic the outside world might become, there's a way that you can be at peace, and you will not participate in all this anger, anxiety, frustration, sadness. And I forgot to mention esteem problems, confidence, right? Self-worth. We sometimes need to prove ourselves, and that's another reason why some people go out and seek wars. I'll show them, right? Attitude. So right now, the world, for me, this is what it really, really appears to me, because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I'm seeing so many parallels on how people are freaking out and how people are so lost now, so anxious, so angry, so sad, so filled with anxiety, right? They're in a sense a ticking time bomb inside, right? They could really self-implode. And perhaps that's what needs to happen for them to finally have a break from what they usually do and how they usually think. One would wish that it doesn't need to come to that point, but it might. So if you are, in a sense, scared right now, just think about this, that for me, it seems that the physical representation of the ego when it comes to society, I would say that it is expressed these days, most of the time anyways, with politicians and the ultra rich and those that want to control in the background. Well, they're the ultra rich, obviously. And they are, in a sense, the worst of the worst. Right now, they are power hungry. They believe they know everybody, they know better than everybody else. So everything that they do is justified. That's what exactly the ego does, right? It goes, it indiscriminately kind of like goes about its rampage, and then anybody gets in the way is like, well, too bad, you're in my way, right? So see these people as very wounded, the politicians and ultra rich. They're trying to prove themselves. The way that they usually go about it is through the inflated ego, and they are very much one of the most symbolic representations of how the ego can run things amok. And this is what happens when the ego runs the show. This is what we get, the world that we have right now. And until that we deal with that, fix the situation, and this is where, like, I would say the healing comes in, the knowing yourself comes in. These people are totally lost. So this is a chance, this dark night of the soul, it always is a chance to get to know yourself. Always will be. So I'm hoping that this doesn't sound too bleak. At the end, the message that I'm trying to say here is actually one of hope. Because everything that's happening is trying to wake us up. Everything that's happening is happening in divine order. We believe that the ego, or the politicians, are the ones that are actually controlling the show. In fact, no. It is God or Source or whatever you want to call it, the divine. That is what is really running the show. All of this is happening for a very, very good reason. It is for us to grow, snap out of a illusion and delusion. And at the end, it's for us to finally connect with who we really are, and to let go of the illusion of who we believe that we are. So all this world is in chaos right now, all this collapsing, all these things that are basically crumbling, and all these financial uncertainties, and the potential wars, everything that's happening right now. It is happening for a very, very good reason. It is trying to wake us up. It is basically consciousness, helping consciousness grow. And it is just like a child that's trying to get our attention. This anxiety and this lost sense that we have, it is basically like a child that is lost, that's trying to get our attention. Hey, what do I do here? How do I get out of this darkness? Well, first we need to become calm, at peace, in a state of love, to find our self-worth, to connect with who we really are. And once these things are present, then watching the world totally different than what we are currently experiencing come out of existence. We are going to be the ones that are going to manifest this world, in a sense. We will do it by connecting deeply inside, collectively. But in order for that to happen again, we need to heal. We need to get to know ourselves. on a very deep level. So this is a chance for us, this collective dark night of the soul that's, most people across the world right now experiencing. And a dark night of the soul doesn't happen, it's just not one night. For me, it lasted 4 years. And it lasts as long as it's needed for us to wake up. So it is a very beneficial thing at the end if we can put our egos aside and see what's going on and actually listen. So I'm hoping that people right now are a little bit more optimistic about the whole situation, because right now it's shifted the whole thing from the outside world is going to basically force itself on us, and it's shifted right now from that to it's all within you. It's all within you to create this new world that we all desperately want, one that has peace and love, appreciation, respect, authenticity, right? Honesty, generosity. These are things that will bring about what people call the 5D. And this is, in a sense, right now, what we're experiencing is a sort of purge. All of these things that we're experiencing, the anger, anxiety, sadness, frustration, self-esteem issues, we're purging some old beliefs. And that's wonderful. Letting go of the limited sense of I and a more complete sense of I can emerge. So take the chance or the choice to connect inside and to help bring about the world that we all want. I know you're no different than me. I know you don't want something totally different than me. I'm not saying this world will look in a certain way. I'm not talking about what it looks like. I'm talking about how it feels. Much, much more important. So don't be scared of this dark night of the soul that I'm talking about. Take responsibility. Take it as a chance to grow, for the old you to die, and that sounds very violent, old you to die. That's how I see it. When I experienced my dark night of the soul, the old me died. Perhaps it's because I'm a man and I'm very brutal some ways. Some people prefer to call it that I would have flowered. So, but the same story is behind this, that we're no longer the same. Fundamentally, we're no longer the same. And I think that's important at the end. So, if anybody needs to talk, just post a comment. I'll eventually put my email on this when I get more views. That way we can send emails, and people can also add me as a friend on Facebook if they wish. So for now, if you have anything to add on this, add a comment. I'm always open and very eager to have a conversation with other people. So I love you. I respect you. You're amazing. Together we're going to do this with powerful help that are operating behind the scenes. Until next time.